lords and ladies, welcome back to Cartoon Hangout, your place for all things cartoon. Right off the bat, I think we have another fantastic classic Scooby-Doo episode with A Night of Fright is No Delight. If you haven't seen the episode in a long time, you may be more familiar with its modern counterpart, where there's a Will, there's a Wraith, from Be Cool Scooby-Doo. The new take on it was really funny, but the original is just as fun. Just like in the modern retelling, Scooby finds himself inheriting a great fortune from a man he saved years ago, and has to spend the night in a creepy mansion along with Sander's other relatives. It's an insanely outrageous and downright amusing premise for an episode, and I just loved it. First off, the island mansion sets up the scene perfectly, and really lets you know the gang is in for a night of fright. It's also a very striking scene in and of itself. Almost feels right out of something like Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas or Dark Shadows. Now, I called the last episode the funniest episode to date, but I'll admit, episode 16 definitely gives it a run for its money with quite a few comedic moments that had me more than chuckling. Scenes like Scooby, Shaggy, and Velma being chased by a floating uniform piloted by a duck, or my favorite moment, this one.
Faster! They're like gaining on us!
If you don't laugh at that, you're not human. The rest of the episode may seem a little bare bones in comparison to the update it received in Be Cool Scooby-Doo, what with very little screen time being given to the relatives themselves, but I promise you it holds up very well even with the newer version in mind. This, to me, is actually the most intricate, involved episode yet. A few other episodes felt like not much was really going on, but the gang spent a good bit of the runtime exploring the mansion or escaping from the giggling green phantoms. Speaking of the ghosts, I adore these two villains so much. I think I said as much in the remake, but it's still true. Not missing a beat, the writers refused to let them sound too familiar to another ghost the Scooby Gang has encountered episodes ago, and instead gave them a really odd laugh. More like they're just saying gibberish, but I'm told it's more of a giggle. Hence why some refer to them as the giggling green phantoms. Either way, they were amazing in this episode, appearing all over the mansion causing problems. And it was hysterical how they had secret panels all over the place for some inexplicable reason. I suppose they were more funny than creepy, but that's not a bad thing. I could probably drone on and on about this episode, but let's wrap it up. Episode 16 is another amazing Scooby-Doo episode that if you've yet to experience for yourself, you should take the time to do so, and then maybe watch Be Cool Scooby-Doo's take on it. If you have seen it though, let me know your thoughts on it down below, and for more Scooby-Doo reviews, click to the left, or maybe watch my episode 1 review of Troll Hunters. Thanks for watching and take care. Hello lords and ladies, welcome back to Cartoon Hangout for a Be Cool Scooby-Doo review. Last night's episode was a perfect Halloween episode. To be fair, many episodes in the Scooby-Doo franchise would be appropriate for Halloween, but this one involved a spooky mansion and a ghost, so, you know, it fits. Now, we learned in this episode that after saving the life of William Lutz, Scooby-Doo was apparently included in the rich man's will, and thus travels to his mansion for the reading of said will. However, it turns out there's a phantom roaming around, scaring away the other people in the will. The premise of Scooby-Doo inheriting a house is somewhat similar to when Shaggy himself inherits a house from his uncle in the movie Scooby-Doo Meets the Boo Brothers, or him inheriting another house from another uncle in Shaggy and Scooby-Doo Get a Clue. Now, as for the Phantom in this episode, I did not even need to check to see if this was a monster from the 1969 series. I knew it instantly, and it had me actually excited, despite not being my #1 favorite monster. So obviously the two phantoms from this episode are a reimagining of the Green Ghost from the Scooby-Doo Where Are You episode, A Night of Fright is No Delight. In the end, it's revealed that the identity of these two ghosts are the twins Ruby and Trudy Lutz. Amazingly enough, their last name seems to be a reference to two of the writers from the original episode, Joe Ruby and Bill Lutz. Heck, the character Casper Cosgood, who vanishes and reappears creepily in this episode, is actually from the original 1969 episode as well. In that episode, he is called Cosgood Creeps, and is actually the villain behind the mask. So for us veteran fans, this may have been an attempt at tricking us up. I mean, who would you suspect more? Two little girls, or a character who was the villain in the original episode? This was an outstanding episode, not only for bringing back the Green Ghost, but also for the little subtle references scattered throughout the episode. Now I'm starting to wonder if I've missed some in the past several episodes. High time I go back and rewatch them, I guess. Speaking of references to the 1969 series, the gang all jump on Velma repeatedly in this episode and ride her around. While some of you might think that's just some random gag they threw in, is actually a callback to the original cartoon, where sometimes they'd all pile on top of Velma and ride her around. Except this time she points out how dumb that idea is, considering how small she is.
Seriously, is no one going to even address the whole sudden everyone jump on Velma escape plan? I'm clearly the smallest, least athletic one here.
I'm sorry, you did what now, Velma?
I do so love it when the show isn't afraid of poking fun at its history. And of course, how could I forget some of the funny moments during this episode, such as the Daphneism this time, trying to turn the mystery into a slumber party.
Wait a minute. 20 questions. A slumber party classic.
Daff, I don't think we have time for...
Was there cabbage involved?
Not the best one we've seen in this series so far, but it still got some chuckles out of me. Especially when she mimes Star Wars, but the gang can't figure it out. Also, there's the idea of a dude pretending to be a cat. A moment that is not only funny, but also bordering on creepy. Seriously, feel free to dress up as a cat if that's your thing, but let's not pretend it's not at least somewhat creepy. Well then, that's been my review of the latest episode of Be Cool Scooby-Doo. Before I end today's video, I wanted to briefly plug a recent video I made listing 3 ways the Teen Titans cartoon could return. So if you could take a look at that video, I would appreciate it. Well, that wraps everything up. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you tomorrow for more Cartoon Hangout. Take care.